classic TV fans, Rick Nineg here. Thank you so much for joining me today. We're going to be talking about Gilligan's Island. More specifically, about a question that is asked so much on my channel in the comments. There are many that people ask about Gilligan's Island. They say, why did the Howells bring so many clothes on a 3-hour tour? Well, I answered that in a video. They also asked me, why can the professor not fix a boat but build batteries out of coconuts? Well, I did answer that in another video, why he couldn't fix the boat. And now this question, this is a very, very big and popular one. How come, or how is it possible that all the castaways had perfectly pressed and ironed clothing on the show? I mean, there were never any wrinkles on anyone, and it was super perfect. And that's not realistic. I don't even know why people ask that, but it's just kind of funny to hear it. That's not realistic. Well, there's an explanation and there's continuity to that question. The show is not as quote-unquote dumb as it seems. Yes, it is a live action cartoon. It's about as silly as the Marx Brothers using blowtorches, pulling them out of their pockets, or the Three Stooges with Curly carrying essentially a cash register around his neck on a necklace. It's that type silly. No one questions that, but they all question Gilligan's Island. So let's answer this question. Now, if you want these previous questions answered, check out my videos. There's a link in the description, Gilligan's Island playlist, on why the professor couldn't fix the boat, as well as why they brought all the clothing on the show. I answer that and more in my Gilligan's Island playlist. But for this one, it's a fairly simple answer, and I want to know how many of you knew this. I've never seen anyone mention this or mention this scene in an episode from season 1. It's actually episode 16 from season 1 called Plant You Now, Dig You Later. Now it's a great one that I particularly like because they're asking on the island who's the rightful owner of this locked treasure chest found while digging a barbecue pit. Now Gilligan was quote-unquote hired by Mr. Howell to dig a hole in the ground to make a barbecue pit. Now Mr. Howell did not pay Gilligan, and when Gilligan stumbles upon this locked chest, everyone thinks it's treasure, something really super valuable, and so everyone wants to take ownership, whether it's Mr. Howell, the Howells, or Gilligan, the skipper. Everyone wants a piece of the treasure. Now, how do they decide this? Well, they use a professor. They make him judge and they make him decide who gets to keep the chest. And the answer is everyone on the island. Everyone on the island has equal share into anything they find. They have to divide it equally. But Mr. Howell said, hey, you know what? I'll buy everyone's share. And he gave everyone tons of money to relinquish their share all to him. When they open it up, they find out it's just cannonballs, essentially duds. No monetary value at all. And then we come to the scene that I'm talking about here in Plant You Now, Dig You Later. It has to do with Gilligan. He's getting ready for the courtroom scene, and look at what he's doing. This essentially explains to us how everyone on the island has perfectly ironed clothing. Well, because they improvised an iron. What do they have? A cast iron pan, and they have rocks. They heat it up on basically a fireplace or a little fire pit that they have. And that's it. I mean, that holds the heat, and then he just rubs the pan alongside clothing. Now, while I wouldn't really recommend this because I don't want anyone to stain their clothing or anything like that, I mean, this is practical. You can actually do this. Like, you can technically do this to a shirt that's wrinkled, and the heat will iron the wrinkles out. It's as simple as that. That answers the question. That's how the skipper, Mr. Howell, everyone has perfectly ironed clothes. They just iron it. The thing is, they don't show it on camera in every scene, but they do show it in this episode, in the specific scene, and I'm so glad I'm able to call the attention to you. So when everyone asks you, you know, that show is so unrealistic, how they have their clothes always ironed, they actually ironed it. They use a cast iron pan, rocks, heat, and they just did it the old school way, as you can say. Now you may ask, wait, how did they get that cast iron pan? Well, let's jump to episode 2 of season 1. It's called Home Sweet Hut. In this one, we have essentially the first episode, that's the non-pilot. It's the one where the castaways decide that they shouldn't have various factions, but construct actual huts. They decide that the best way forward is not really to have one gigantic hut, but to have couple huts here and there, you know, one for the Howells, one for Gilligan and Skipper, and so forth. And in the first scene, essentially, of the entire episode, we see the Skipper preparing some eggs on a pan. So we have to assume this pan actually came from the boat. They salvaged it from the shipwreck. And it makes sense. Yeah, you're going on a 3-hour tour. You may think, well, why would you have this? Well, if you go out at night on a tour, or if you go out in the evening, I mean, you can cook something up on a little stove, or you can cook something up on the pan. Or if they did get in trouble and they needed some type of item to heat something up, they had that pan available. Just a little heads up, just a little Easter egg there for you that they actually did iron their clothes on the island. Very cool. I hope you enjoyed this. Let me know if you want to see more videos like this. What do you think? Do you remember this scene? And do you think this is a good justification for what is going up? I always love to hear your thoughts, ideas, comments on this stuff. Leave them in the comments below. Thanks so much for supporting, and most importantly, be hopeful. Thank you so much to my supporters on Patreon, especially my Diamond tier patrons. New patron Gerard D, David D, Citizen Kane 359, Greg S, Kevin K, Ricky, Sally, and Vito L. Make sure to check the links in the description to see how you could be on this list as well.